In five, four. Hey guys, Nick Campbell here. With me, as always, is my buddy,
David Steele.
and we are
Rhythm and Wit. Yes, welcome to the Rhythm and Wit Podcast. This is episode number 38. If you didn't know, this is the podcast where we discuss and explore the creative and artistic expressions of artists and performers in Oklahoma City, its neighboring cities, and beyond.
All right. Well, hey, today we're talking about Tower City Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
All right, dude. I just came back. Dave, first off, Dave, man, I missed you. I haven't seen you in a little while. You've been out there doing some podcasts, doing your own thing. How's that going?
Yeah, it's going good. I just try to get back on that train doing the Creative Inclinations podcast. Is a new solo one-on-one podcast that I'm doing. Basically, I've been telling people this too, but it's basically just an excuse for me to do this more and get more people, because there's so many people that I want to talk to that it's just hard to get you and me scheduled on the same day, let alone a third or fourth party as well.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of was like, and just to get me more practice at doing this, just because I want to keep getting better at it. And doing it on my own is definitely a little bit of a challenge because you don't have that other person to help bounce off those ideas and stuff. So
What have you been doing? I mean, as far as the struggles or it's like, how have you been overcoming that?
yeah, I've been just mainly prep, I think, is a good thing for me, because a lot of times with this show, right, like I kind of got to the point where it's like I don't do any prep, or you do a lot of prep, which I appreciate, and helps it a lot. But I like this idea of podcasting where it's just purely conversation, and there's really not as much pre-prep that goes into it. I think they both have value,
Yeah.
So it's like with my show, it's like I'm trying to do a little bit of a balance of that, to where it's like it is just strictly conversation, but it's like I have kind of points where I'm trying to guide it, you know what I mean, by whenever there is a lull in conversation, I was like, okay, well, let me jump to this other topic that I've been wondering about or whatever, and ask. So a lot of that's been, so what I've been doing with, especially the music artists that I've been having, it's like I'll go just to the mall and like listen to their music or listen to whatever, try to get into that and just kind of walk around, but I'll sit in the food court and just start writing out questions and things that I want to ask about. And kind of that just helps.
You just take it back to high school. You go to the mall.
Something about, I noticed this about that in particular, because I don't know why that helps. I can't sit here and do that at home.
Really?
Like I just won't.
Yeah.
Or it's very hard for me to like want to like sit down and go over that kind of stuff. So, and I don't know what it is. I think it's too quiet. I think that I work better when there's a lot of energy and stuff that's floating around, which makes sense because I grew up with a lot of brothers and sisters in the house all the time, and it was never quiet. So, I mean, I think I had that thought the last time I was doing that, because it's like, why can't I just do this at home?
Yeah.
Or it's like I need to go somewhere where there's a lot of people and a lot of noise in a weird way. I don't know.
Well, I have that same thing. I like to walk around while I'm going over my set out in my neighborhood and just hang out.
Yeah, something about the energy of the place or wherever you go, I think helps feed that into.
One time I got pulled over by the cops. I was walking up and down the street. I had my notepad, but I was doing this thing where I was walking down the street and I'll walk backwards up the hill. And so I was going over my set and walking down with the street and walking backwards because it's supposed to be better for your knees or whatever.
See, like, but you just look like a crazy person.
So a neighbor called and was like, "Hey, this guy is acting nuts.
He's on something.
He's outside walking." Nobody does that in Oklahoma. I don't know if anybody knows that, but if you're walking, it's automatically assumed that you're homeless.
Or you don't have a car.
You don't have a car. Yeah. But yeah, so I walked, and then the police showed up, and they were like, "Hey, so we had somebody call. We just need to know what you're doing here." And I was like, "Well, I'm walking. I live right over there." He goes, so why are you walking backwards? I was like, I looked online. It was supposed to be helpful for your niece.
That's fine.
And he's like, well, she was worried that you were having a mental breakdown. I was
so
like, well,
dumb.
if I didn't, I am now. So
Yeah, for real. It's like,
they put
no,
3 cops to come
I'm
on.
questioning whether or not I should live in this state.
Are you walking, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was. There's no sidewalks on our side of town, so
Yeah.
maybe that was my fault.
But no, it's yeah. So anyway, so my it's going good. I think it's starting to get some traction a little bit. I want to build it up and get more of an audience for the music and art side of it. So I want to use that as a kind of vessel to grow that. And I think it has, and so yeah,
A lot of good information.
yeah,
Yeah, a lot of fun.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
been awesome. Like I said, I think it's just something that I wanted to do since we moved to this format for the show, like almost like I don't know, 4 months ago. Like I had the idea to start doing it, and I did a couple episodes already back in like November, I think. Anyways, so it's something I'm finally gonna start trying to be consistent with and try to get. I've already got one booked for next week, so we'll have. And eventually, I'd like to have it to where obviously it's a great thing to have to just fill in those gaps where you're busy and can't be on a show or we don't have anything planned. Then it's like, oh, I got an episode of this one, so I can put that out and keep that ball rolling. But eventually, it will be to a point where it's like we have a Wednesday release and a Friday release.
Nice.
And so it's like I'd love to get to that point where we have multiple, different types of show that are coming out every week, not just once a week. So.
Yeah. So what do we have now? We have Rhythm and Wit regular.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
we have this show. This is the coveted Rhythm and Wit podcast.
That's right.
This is the main show where I kind of like. That's why I kind of wanted you to take the reins on it for the most part when we have guests and stuff like that, because I think it's mostly more of the comedy based stuff whenever you're on, so that makes more sense anyways. And then so then of course now we have Creative Inclinations, which is going to be everything. I mean, mostly I'd like to focus on music and maybe some visual artists I definitely have in mind to have on, and then possibly even some comics or something else. I don't know, just to see where it makes sense to have them on a different type of show. I'm thinking like I feel like that Creative Inclinations is like the more serious podcast where it's like you're probably not going to be laughing a whole lot watching that one, whereas this one I think that is more of the goal. We want to be entertaining and be funny and have fun. So I think that's one of the differences between them, but so that's it for now. Obviously, I think we have big ideas to bring back Biz Please. Mm-hmm. So like we definitely will be spotlighting businesses again in the future, because that's something we definitely are passionate about. I think you being a local business owner and just we just know so many local business owners. It's like I want to try to help support them in some kind of way if we can. So. That one I think will come back, and then I don't know. That's about it for now.
Going to shows and everything, kind of.
Working
trying
your photography.
to.
I haven't really been doing much shows. I did get to check out Weirder Wednesday, which we could do a little recap of that.
Yeah,
I
dude.
just thought of that.
Well, once we get to this Tower Theater stuff, where it's going to be a lot. So I've been wanting to catch up with you a little bit too.
So let me get. Last Wednesday, I went out to check out. It was my first Weirder Wednesday. If you didn't know, Weirder Wednesday is a show that is put on by Jarvix of Make Oklahoma Weirder, or just Make Oklahoma Weirder puts it on because it's Weirder Wednesday. And he's trying to bring more weirder acts, which is fascinating because when I went there, it was a great show, really well put together. I mean, Jarvix books all these acts, himself, so he's like handpicking the artists that are performing there. And so it's going to be good because he pays a lot of attention to music and different acts here. So, the artist he had this past week was the first one up was Meteorology. Which is a one-man, it's his artist name, but the journalist Brett Fieldcamp. He writes for the Oklahoma Free Press, and he does some freelance journalist stuff around. Anyways, so he does some guitar stuff, And I think I've never seen him perform. It's the first time I saw him perform. He was amazing as far as like just really, really good as far as he's a great guitar player, which I knew he played guitar. That was the one thing I knew. And I knew that he was like kind of experimental stuff. And apparently this is the stuff he played, and he put out a bunch of singles, I think, maybe last month, that are not as experimental and more traditional music as far as like, but it's just him. So he does everything, but he was singing and playing guitar, and he was like doing some loops with drums, and he had this little piano, what are they called, like the little wooden slats that you play for the bass, and they're like the big like kind of piano like foot pedals, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, he was playing, so he was doing the bass with the pedals, and then he was playing guitar, which is not just he was playing like lead stuff and singing and just looping it all. It was incredible.
What was his name?
Meteorology. Yeah, I think you would like his stuff specifically just because I think it's a little bit up your alley as far as the vibe,
yeah.
you know, or just the kind of. But yeah, I mean, certainly with everything he's doing.
Remember Hosty?
Yeah.
Hosty's kind of like that vibe.
Yeah.
What was that old Hot Rod? You remember back when we were younger?
Mm-mm.
It was like hot circuit, hot. But there was the guy. He played drums with his feet while he played guitar.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that Hosty does that also. So I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's always cool to see that, and you do see that a lot in those experimental realm, I think, of music. You see just a lot of one-man band type things, but that was great, and it was amazing. Honestly, it was very, very good. The next act, I think, was an act called Unicorn Hunted. It was kind of it was experimental for sure. All these groups were kind of experimental, but not as much as I was expecting, I guess. And I was talking to Jarvix about this afterwards, and yeah, he was saying that too. It's like it's more of like on the fringes of like these genres and things like that, where it's like, okay, you're pushing the limits a little bit of what these traditional genres can be. So.
And Jarvis goes through. Well, you have to submit a tape and everything.
Well, I don't know exactly if you submit. I mean, I think he just books them like any producer books. I mean, he just reaches out to people that he wants to put together.
I see. Okay.
So it's not like an open mic or anything.
It's
an actual. Yeah, every month.
Yeah.
I don't know which exact Wednesday. It might be the last Wednesday of the month.
Yeah.
Because that was. Maybe not.
Is it just musicians, you said?
Yeah, it's just music, because it's just
not all types of performing, but just music. For
yeah,
the most
and
part.
it's like I said, it's kind of more just whatever is a little experimental and stuff. Because let me just pull it up because I don't want to mess up the other names. Okay, yeah, Unicorn Hunted was really good. She did some cool. Just weird stuff. I don't know. That's like the best. I don't know how to explain her music. It's just kind of different for sure.
I think it's mostly single artists.
Yeah, because that was just one person, and she had some backing tracks. There's another group that was very impressive. It was hip hop artist, a rapper named Lil X Milkies.
So if I let you go, I could let you float away. I'll make it on my own. Sometimes you need to go away. I need to be alone.
And the producer is playing like the what is it, the vibraphone, I think, the little mallet thing, and it was incredible, especially with hip hop. It was very cool. And this guy's incredible as far as him playing that thing, because I know Josh, my musical partner and lead singer of the Commercial Break, he plays that and is very talented at those type of instruments also. So I've seen him do it, but that guy was really good. So yeah, they were pretty cool, and it was like hip hop, but it was a little experimental too. Like I was saying, it just pushes the boundaries of what hip hop can be. It's kind of a little bit more spacey, I guess, too, or something like that. More like kind of weird sustained and stuff like that instead of your traditional. And then the final act of that show was called Bugbear. And it was also one person, and he was doing some really cool stuff with like a synthesizer or something, but he was doing some cool like vocal effects. But the best thing about his performance was that he had some kind of like props of like kind of nature-y stuff like up along the microphone cable and stuff like, or the mic stand. And then he came out and he's just got this weird like kind of robe thing that's like covering, and he has this weird thing on his face. It's like this made out of like branches and wood where you couldn't even see his face. So, and he was just doing this weird like experimental kind of performance with this just very elaborate kind of costumes and stuff like that. But it was really cool. Like I said, again, very just experimental and apparently I don't know much more about him. I'd like to talk to him more because he seemed interesting, but he's apparently like a more of a heavy metal guitar player traditionally. That's his music. Until now, he's kind of wanted to try this stuff
branching out a little bit.
So you could see that in the music. It was kind of just heavy, but not like rock.
Was
but
it looped as well?
Yeah, I think he did some
looped.
of that. Obviously, like it was all a performance of them. Like they, like I said, he had a bunch of equipment up there. I don't really know what exactly any of it was. Like I said, maybe some kind of synthesizer and like a looper or something. But
yeah, it
was cool.
Well, how can people keep an eye out for this so they can see
follow,
it themselves, man?
Follow Weirder OK on Instagram. Go to follow Make Oklahoma Weirder. He posts about it, or the Opolis because it's at the Opolis. So follow if you're following the Opolis or Make Oklahoma Weirder. They'll post about it every month. They're doing more, doing that. So that's a great show. I had a great time. Got to go out. For the first time, so it was really fun and something I've been trying to get out to. If it was like I was telling Jarvis too, it's like if it was in Oklahoma City, I'd be there way more.
Yeah.
It's just it's hard to get to Norman, especially with my current job. Just trying to get out on the during those hours and stuff like that. So but I highly recommend that. Like I said, I would go way more if I could, but. And I will now too, just because I've been already once. So I kind of sometimes you get intimidated by stuff that you just don't know what to expect for some reason. You're just like, you don't really know what it is. But it was fun, and especially with the experimental shows, because there's another group that does experimental music in Oklahoma or puts on experimental shows, and they bring a lot of artists from out of state that are touring that are just very, very experimental, like truly like Weirder Wednesday is just weird, It doesn't really, sometimes it can go that direction, but I think there is a line where it's like you get into like the true experimental music side, which I think that's what I was kind of hoping for with this, but obviously I liked it for what it was. But I want to go back. But that group is called Disassociation. That's the name. I think it's Disassociation Oklahoma or something like that. But yeah, they're really cool, and they do legit weird experimental, like most of their stuff doesn't even have vocals, doesn't have, like barely has any structure.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that's the stuff where it's like you go into that and you see what else is capable, what else is possible with music, and that is very truly inspiring. And so that I need to get out to more of their shows, and then it's someone too I had thought about, but I'm definitely gonna try to ask them to come on and do an episode of my podcast or our podcast. I don't know.
That's a good idea.
Because I think they'd be very cool to talk to and spread the word about what they're doing.
Well, before we move on to talking about Tower City, which I know everybody's excited about, I do have one outstanding music that I've been listening to lately. Okay. Local band Electric Sunrise.
Yeah.
my God. I've been listening. Have you listened to any of it?
I've seen some videos that they posted online. I haven't listened to any of their music, like actually try to consume it and like, you know what I mean? Like how you do with music. Like actually, you know.
They're in my rotation right now.
But I want to check them out. I meant to go see them. They played a show earlier this month, I think. And I wanted to go see it. But they're playing at Factory Obscura. I just saw this with the band from Japan.
That's right. The
And
band is... that's it. They also said band from Japan. Okay.
Well, it has it on there.
Right here on this? Where is it at?
There? I thought there was because I just sent it to Josh. So I was like, hey, look at this band from Japan. They're coming here. We should go. But I don't know if he knows who they are. They're called Oh Summer Vacation.
Oh, Summer Vacation, a Japanese punk band.
That's going to be on March 16th.
Yeah.
Looks like Factory Obscura is doing a spring break stopover, a lineup of national and international touring artists playing on their stage as they pass through Oklahoma City. Catch these artists in a more intimate setting in a venue truly focused on the experience. So on the 13th of March, they'll have Skating Polly.
Oh, nice.
And with the Gully Boys band. And then the 16th is going to be Oh Summer Vacation with Electric Sunrise.
Yeah. And that's got our buddy Ben Griffith, the comedian Ben Griffith. He's a local comedian. It's funny. He's actually going to be on a show March 15th with us at the Bamboo Room in Midwest City.
Yeah.
We got a show going on out there. We went down to Lawton,
right?
Me and him, and then we kind of just drove down there and just to kind of watch it at Comedy Avenue, our favorite spot.
Where'd you go to the? Did you go to the final day?
No, I didn't. Okay, I didn't end up going.
So the
final day was this past Sunday.
And I just wanted to shout that out because we did an episode. Check it out on the second day of the contest,
the 12th,
featuring the winner. Shout out and congratulations to Big A Russell.
Yeah, Big A,
coming from Texas, which I thought was cool as shit because it's like that at least made it worth it.
Yeah, winning that, he won $500.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like coming up from Texas 3 times or no. Yeah, I think 3.
3? Yeah, he came up and did 5 minutes, and he did 10 minutes. Then they had to do a 20-minute set, which is
the final.
Pretty hard for somebody who, if they only won that first piece, it's difficult to keep going. But Big A is super funny, very good organic comedian. Crowd work, I would say he does crowd work, but like I said, it's organic. It's almost like you're listening to somebody talk at you on the back porch while you're sipping beers. You know, super funny guy. My plan is to bring him on to do comedy on the spot. That's how good.
Yeah, he'd be great at that.
Yeah, he would. But yeah, that's kind of what we're looking for on that.
He was, So I saw that and I was like, oh man, that's awesome. Because I know that Cody was in the finalists, wasn't he?
Yeah, Cody was in the final. Cody did. Cody. I didn't get a chance to talk to him about it, but
because you guys were
after
out
we
there.
left, he was at Tower City Comedy Festival. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna go. He
was busy this past weekend. I know because he had that show and then he had something else that he was posting about. I was like. And when I saw him post that he was in Tower City, and I was like, okay. And then he had like immediately after he was somewhere else, and I was like, wait, aren't you supposed to be in Lawton? And then he was like,
Cody has a clone.
Bang. Yeah,
Cody has a clone. I don't know if you know this. Cody has a clone.
His name is Brody.
This is the only way he can do all this work. He like sends out another guy, and then they get back together. It's very much like
so they split.
It's when Piccolo splits and he learns different techniques, and he comes back, and then he learns all the information. Yeah, that's how Cody lives.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyways.
No, but it was incredible to see him. He was all over the place, which is great.
Do you want to get into the Tower City Comedy Festival?
Yeah, I wanted to know about. I know you probably got a lot of stuff that you wanted to talk about, but I kind of wanted to jump from kind of the beginning. Like, what can you tell me about it? Like, where is it?
Yeah.
Right
off the bat.
Puts it on?
It's in Paris, Texas, not to be confused with the actual Paris.
That's right, because they were all in Paris. I saw the fake Eiffel Tower. That's what.
It's not fake. It's different. All right, it's the Eiffel Tower with the cowboy hat on it.
It's made out of something else.
Yeah, it's not made out of Eiffel.
Same, is it? Is it the same size?
It's not an eyeful either, because it's smaller.
It's an earful.
Yeah. But yeah, it's no, they have the. I didn't even take a picture with it. I know Cody left. He was like, "I'm gonna go take a picture with the giant Eiffel Tower." And
yeah, I saw several, at least.
And
I
told him
of
I don't
comments.
hang out with fakes.
Yeah.
So
So he had to leave.
But no, he went on to do. It's in Paris, Texas.
Yeah.
The town, we're basically in the downtown area of Paris, Texas,
Yeah,
and on the outskirts,
which
it kind of looks like.
What would you compare it to? Is it like
Okay,
downtown Norman?
No. It's like if you opened up a Hallmark card, or you watched an episode in Christmas of like a Hallmark movie. The town square is like lit up with like really beautiful lights and everything, and it looks really pretty. And then the whole little town, like the downtown square, is like everything's walking distance.
Yeah.
And it's antiques and it's mom and pop shops there, and art. Like there's little like baby clothes and these little local shops that you could tell people supported. You could tell people actually like they went and spent the money at these places, because there's no other way that these places would survive, right? And then on the outskirts, it would be more like your Midwest city kind of vibe. You know, it wasn't like, I mean, I think it was like 25,000 people.
I mean, I assume it's not a very big town.
No, not a very big festival.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the things I really liked about it is, the thing about Blue Whale, it was super fun, had a lot going on. This one was a little smaller, but because it was smaller, it was almost more quaint.
Yeah.
You got to hang out with people and really talk to them. Everybody wasn't rushing off to something else. It was really good. Something that Daryl Felsberg, which is I think he's the manager, he's the owner of Tower City Comedy, which is the comedy club down there. And then he's also booker and comedian. And he's been doing it for a very long time. I think I want to say, I mean, I don't even want to lie, but I know 15 years plus. You know, he's been at it for a while. He started a little later in life, which is very inspiring to me, because I also started a little later, 37.
That's always good to know. I always love that, hearing that about anyone that's made it, anything, just because it's like, oh, they didn't start until they were in their mid-30s or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, shit, that's like me.
Was very funny guy. Super funny just in conversation. You can tell he's like kind of got his knives sharpened up for any situation. But what it was really nice was he was very open to having conversations about stuff, and like he was very friendly. And what he told me, or he told all of us, was the goal was not to get stage time there, but the idea was to get us all together in a room to meet, to talk comedy, to really have to really network.
Yeah.
And 100% we did that.
Yeah. So let's see, was there? What would you say, like, the percentage? I guess, I mean, it's hard to say, like, how many people, like, came from out of town? I assume a lot of people came from out because it was, the small town Texas. But
familiar faces. There were a lot of familiar faces that we saw at Blue Whale.
So a lot of the the
our Oklahomies, they were there. We had Cody Troutman, right? We had John Wallen, very funny John Wallen. We had Cepeda Cheeks. Yeah. Sergeant Cheeks. And then we had, sorry, I got So Cepeda was in there. There was more. I'm trying to think who else was there.
Oh, Shauna Blake.
Shauna Blake, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember
Blake.
she posted about.
But yeah, all the Oklahomies were there, so it was nice to see those people. It was nice to kind of have familiar faces to kind of draw yourself to as well.
Yeah, so that way it's like you at least could stick to your friends if you didn't necessarily feel very comfortable going up and meeting new people, and you had some familiar people.
It was intimidating.
Yeah,
it was very intimidating coming in at a guy who's only been at it for 2.5 years.
Right.
You know, my plan was to just sit, shut up, and listen.
Because this is really maybe your second festival.
This is my second one that I'm actually performing on. This is the third one we've been to.
Blue Whale it kind of counted.
It felt, well, we were there as media.
Yeah, it was great.
So it was a little different.
But still, this is so technically, I mean, maybe third festival you've ever even experienced. So
true, yeah. But what was I getting at?
Yeah, so it was.
No, it was a little intimidating walking up there. You know, like I said, my goal was just to sit down, shut up, and listen. Luckily, I was able to kind of meet up with a few people, kind of pick their brains, especially Daryl, and we got a lot of good information for everybody to hear at home to help with booking and just being a comedian. After being here, the path to being a comedian became very much more clear.
Yeah,
and it's all full of work.
You figured out how much more work there's left.
Yeah.
So,
Which is almost kind of better because it's not like
Yeah.
at least you can go, okay, well, I'm making a decent progression.
Yeah, you can
You don't have to kill yourself trying to
gauge
make it
yourself.
somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you know your destination, it feels a little
sometimes
bit easier.
I mean sometimes that could be like if you know how much more work is ahead of you, and it's like some people might need to know that and to realize they don't want to put in that work or they can't or something, you know. And so it's like maybe it's better to definitely better to know that than not know it.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
Well, all I saw was like, oh, we can do this.
Yeah,
Like, it can happen.
Yeah. Especially since we were talking about it a little bit before we started recording, as far as like sometimes, like we say all the time, once you see something that's possible, if you see someone else doing something, then you can more easily put yourself in that position and see yourself doing it also, and gives you that kind of like that vision, like you're saying, to know what to expect.
Yeah, that's why I watch HGTV.
To know
like,
what
someday.
Sometimes it's like I want to know what the inside of those people's houses in Edmond looks like.
Yeah. Tired of having to work on it. But no, it was really good. Let's see. Something we could like I said, we walked in, everybody's really nice. Liz came with me.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a vacation for us.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, like how long were you there, and how many shows did you get to do?
So I had I was there from Friday to Saturday, but the whole festival was Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
So I got there Friday. I had one set that Friday, so it was like a 7-minute set, so nothing too crazy. I was already prepared.
But that's still kind of a nice thing to jump in with.
So we went, and the first show that I did was at this place called South Main Iron, and it was a venue that they had turned. It was a motorcycle. Not Harley Davidson, they dealt it with different vehicles, but it was mostly motorcycles, and they had like leather jackets and all this stuff on the walls. They even had baby clothes that were leather, know what I'm saying? But they did that, and then so they set up a stage, cool lights, a little area around this one area, right in front of all the jackets, and it was just really cool.
Nice backdrop.
Cool backdrop, and the place was super nice. The people that owned the spot were there to watch and hanging out, and so it was really cool.
So it sounds like they kind of took a bunch of like these small like whatever businesses and turned them into comedy clubs.
Yeah, well, just that one. They only had 2 venues.
Oh, okay.
And then they had like another venue that was basically like a hospitality area for us to hang out, grab food, grab a drink.
And then they had the main club.
Yeah,
right?
in the main club. Then they also did a trolley where it was a comedy trolley. So during Saturday, you could get on the trolley. The comedians would kind of bark at the window, make it fun. They would go around, do a tour. They would come back, and they did that twice. Me and Liz went and got ice cream during that. So we kind of hung out and did that. Man, so yeah, let's get into the nuts and bolts so we can actually get into what people want to talk about. I took notes during the panels. We had panels, which was another big advantage to doing this. I would suggest anybody go to a festival at any point in time. Not for the stage time, but for the networking, just seeing
the
people,
information
you can get,
learning,
the conversations you can have, because I talk about comedy a lot with people, and these people wanted to hear it.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
Like you found the people that wanted to talk back.
Yeah, it's. I assume it's the same feeling that people who like Star Wars feel when they go to Comic Cons.
Exactly. It's like this is where you want
someone
to be.
other than my wife.
Right,
Yeah. But Liz came and she was even inspired, so she's starting to write more for comedy. She's like, man, I want to go do this now too, because like I said, when you see what's possible, and where the actual work is,
that's like something that reminded me. Like whenever we went to Planet Comic Con years ago now, and I remember coming back from that, and that's like I bought a bunch of like sketchbooks and stuff like that because I wanted to. So we went to like a panel that we went to. There was a guy that drew on one of the Turtles comics and the Batman. He was like, he did both of those, but yeah, it was 2 of my favorite things as far as comic books go. But it's like watching him, and then he did like something like live. He drew a piece live, and while during the panel, it was like, and that was very inspiring for me to come home and it's like, oh, I can get back into drawing and stuff. But yeah, something that I think that comic or any conventions can kind of lead to. I think when you kind of get into it.
Yeah, well, and that's the best part is. is that you could do that. You know, you can kind of meet and talk about what you love, and everybody wanted to talk about it. Another thing is everybody was super nice about giving out information if you asked. I think everybody has that problem where you kind of feel like you don't really know what you're getting into, or you don't know how to get somewhere. So those are things that we looked at. Like I said, something really great about this is they have the panels. Daryl emphasized being at the panels. They got the headliners to be there to answer questions. Linda Stogner, 10-time Emmy Award-winning Linda Stogner was there. That was the first panel at panel A. One of the most important things I pulled from that really spoke to me, and I don't know, maybe just because it's where I'm at right now. I do a lot in general. I do a lot of shows. I get a lot of spots, which is very fortunate. I've gotten good quickly.
Just based on the opportunities.
But when I went here, I was like, oh, I'm not even close.
Yeah.
Looking at these other people who've got 15 years, 9 years, 10 years, you know, you're looking at Shauna Blake, Cepeda Cheeks, and these are their equivalents. And you're going, okay. And then you go, I got a lot of room to grow. And so something that Daryl said and Linda Stogner kind of went over a little bit was, and Neil Rubenstein told me this too, you're not as good as you think you are.
Yeah.
You're not as bad as you think you are either.
Yeah.
But you're not as good as you think you are.
It's hard to judge. I think it's hard to gauge yourself sometimes or on a lot of things, especially I imagine maybe more so with comedy than other arts.
Well, and you're right, because you work so hard. You work so hard to get these little incremental wins, and you're like, well, then was that not worth it?
Yeah.
But it's not. It's just part of the path.
It's just another step.
It's just a part of the
way.
path. And like it's important to take those wins in and go, I'm doing good.
Yeah.
But you got to watch out for, well, I'm the best, you know, and something that this opened my eyes to is there's a lot of room to grow. There's a lot, and be proud of kind of where I'm at, but know what's possible.
Yeah.
And now that we know what's possible and what the path is, it feels a little bit better. And I feel almost okay with not being good.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter. Let's just enjoy what we're doing.
It's like, I think it's kind of one of those things where it's like you know, if you're on an adventure or something, if you're say you're put yourself in a position, you're looking for a lost treasure or something, but it's like you don't have a map, you know? So it's like, well, that sucks. It's like, that's going to be miserable trying to look around, trying to find this treasure that's buried, you ain't got a map. But it's like, once you get the map, then it's like, well, maybe it doesn't make it, it definitely makes it a lot easier. You know, it's still going to be a challenge, but you're probably going to feel a lot better because you know where you at least maybe shouldn't go, you know, obviously. Yeah.
Well, I mean, think about a real life example. What he emphasized was creating stages for opportunities for yourself to get stage time.
Nice.
That was kind of something I took away because I already knew that.
Yeah, it's like something that I know. I mean, personally, just from the music side, it's like that's pretty much the only stages I played on is I made them myself. For the most part.
He emphasized focusing on doing what's right for the show versus trying to hire your buddy.
Right.
Because there's something that happens whenever you do that is you end up, when we're just hiring based on or giving people spots based on what they can give us or based on doing it with friends, you're sacrificing the quality of show. When you sacrifice the quality of show, then that stage becomes less the audience becomes less confident in that stage, and so that will affect your ticket sales. So he said, like, you should be putting together good shows.
You're gonna have to like set a bar or like stick to like a level of like, I don't know, I want to say like integrity or something, but you know what I mean, like just have that kind of quality, like you know.
I'm not a headliner, right? But if I'm putting on a show and I put myself as headliner, now there's a good chance that that venue won't bring me back. So and it's kind of what I do already is like, oh, well, I'm going to host. I'm good at hosting. I'll host. I got a good sharp 10, 15, you know, if I need to. And then a majority of my stuff is clean so I can stay up front. And then you have people come in to help you be better and sell the show. So we're saving that stage for a time when it is time for me to headline.
Right. Yeah.
And we can bring in better
you're
people.
Building up this kind of like pedestal.
You're planting a seed for later.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
But yeah, it's like because
Yeah.
like I think it is like this prestige of the stage that you put together that you built.
Yeah, and then it becomes an expectation that the audience has for you, so they learn to trust you when you book your shows. And they're like, all right, I don't know who this person is,
but it's
but
like,
I like what they normally do.
That's kind of like, I mean, that's what I was saying with Jarvix too. It's like I know that no matter what, if Jarvix books a show, it's going to be a quality show because he only puts on things that at the very least they're going to be interesting. you know.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not. Maybe they're because obviously he gives a lot of opportunities to younger, newer artists. I mean, one of the artists that he had on last week, that was like their first time ever performing live or something. You know what I mean? Like but it's like it was, and it's like you could probably tell that in some aspects. Obviously, you could tell a brand new artist versus a seasoned artist. But like I said, they were still interesting no matter what. So it was definitely
and you trust Jarvix, like you said, it's a trust thing. You're like, I know he cares enough to put together a good show,
exactly.
And even if he wouldn't allow a show to go bad, you know, or there's a lot of what even in hosting, how you frame when you bring somebody up, how you frame how the audience perceives them. Like say you got somebody who's not as good, or maybe that you know is a little lacking. Well, and you gave them 5 minutes because you're like, well, I want to see them do well. I want to get them in front of a real crowd. And when you do that, you're giving them the opportunity, but you're setting it up. You're like, hey guys, let's give this guy a warm round. You know, he's the first time here, right there. Boom. Show them respect, or show them how we treat people. We treat people right. Kind of like we together are bringing this person up. They're very funny. Let's give them a shot. They're up and coming. That's another way, like frame this person's experience, and then you give them a warm round of applause. Give up. And then you bring them up, and then now they're set up, and the audience is now behind them because they're like, okay, well, you framed it in a way
they know what's going on. They don't, because sometimes if you didn't say any of that and you just brought up the person, and then they were terrible or didn't do well for some reason, and it's like, well, the audience thought this was just like another pro level comedian. You know what I mean? If you didn't set it up properly,
and then they're more willing to give that warmth, that like be open minded,
a little bit more of a little more grace,
because they see themselves in that.
Yeah,
they're like, well, I don't really know what would I want for me. Yeah, and so you can kind of give that grace to that person, and then you really see somebody open up when the crowd's behind them. Yeah, and then you can see like, okay, and then so that's what I learned as far as like booking shows, is trying to book for the show better quality of show. Okay, and ultimately that's the goal.
I think that's something that you've been obviously wanting to do for a long time, and are starting to do that. But it, like we were talking about, I mean, that once you get to that level of comic that you really, the true professional level, like that costs money, so that's a hurdle.
Well, that's something that we talked about too. Daryl, something I talked to him, I told him like, hey, I'd produce some shows in OKC. I would like to bring more people.
Yeah, it's like, because I
would like to pay them good money.
It wouldn't be hard to book big acts on, put a cork in it, but like,
we got to have the money.
Yeah. And so it's easy enough to send them a message and get them interested in coming, but it's like, you have to make it worth it for them and what they expect to be paid on their level.
Yeah, 100%. Let me get these notes out real quick.
Yeah, so that's kind of.
So if we go over some of the panel, some of the notes that they had, these are some things that bookers look for. This is something that, like he said, he's kind of cultivating. He took the festival as a way to cultivate his booking, right? And he's got a list of people that he watches and uses. So the something that he mentioned is have a clean set. So you're going to have your dirty stuff. You're more hireable if you have a clean set.
I think it's just a good idea to have that, even if you don't want to do that. Just have it.
Just have it. Because what you're going to have to do is they're going to put you in different positions, right? The earlier the position, the cleaner you need to be. Because what ends up happening is everybody after whoever's before them has to compete with how dirty they are. So the goal is to have a good, clean host up front, maybe have a feature that's maybe PG or something, and then down the line, obviously write what you want to write and express yourself.
But it's like if you're booking as a producer, it's like you've got this person that's just like really raunchy and that's their style, then it's like you kind of have to put them last in that way, and just to build up to it.
Yeah. So if you're clean,
Yeah.
if you have a clean set and you have a dirty set or whatever you got, but if you've got a good clean 5, 10, 15, you're more hireable.
Yeah.
That's just what it means. And you can have the other stuff, but
Yeah.
everybody else has the other stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like the stuff that's not clean is kind of like that's just what that's most people's stuff. It's not gonna fit into that clean label of comedy.
Right.
So it's like you're already gonna have that. You don't have to worry about that.
Well, I have an old folks home set.
Yeah.
Where it's like we're just talking about I used to have grandparents.
Like
I was adopted by my grandparents. It's all sweet
most,
stuff.
Yeah, basic kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, and
it's good.
It's really just having that and then having your other set. And
Yeah.
then a bag of tricks just in case.
I think it's definitely good just to have it for variety's sake too. I mean, you don't know, because sometimes you say that you're on a set that's not necessarily doesn't need to be clean, but you get up there and you start doing some dirty jokes and nobody's buying it, and you're like, oh shit, I gotta switch to some clean stuff just to make these people happy, because that's what you have to do as a comic.
Yeah.
You have to.
I hope they like this furry.
You
joke.
have to bend to the audience.
Yeah.
Well,
that's something I
just the name of
learned
the game.
with that new joke that I've been doing. I have a newer joke that's like it kind of
homeless people.
The homeless people joke is like it hits like a truck, but is that what I want to say?
Right.
It is punching down a little bit, but I've been thinking more and more of like, do I want to be shocking or do I want to have good turns, like good, pops
lines,
and thoughts, like is it more intriguing than shocking? So I've been thinking more about that, but the clean spot, that was a super important one. Let's see. Booking. Something that he mentioned is what bookers are looking for when you send information about trying to get a booking spot. First off, always ask. There's so many people out there. If you're truly interested in trying to get on a spot, reach out. A good way to do that is look up groups in different areas. Say the Oklahoma comedy community group that we have here. There's one for Arkansas. There's one for Little Rock. There's one for Denver.
Facebook or whatever.
Go through that. Look at who's booking those shows, and then you can contact them if you're.
I think it's pretty. Obviously, maybe not always obvious, but it's not that hard to find these people that are booking
just at the
shows.
basics of it. Just at the basics
like
of
if
it.
you're trying to get into another state or whatever.
So if you were to do that, and then you go, okay, what you need is a small bio just describing you and your comedy, a 5-minute clip that has good sound, good audio quality, good video quality. It isn't cut. It has to be. This is already what we talked about with Cody, kinda, but it can't be cut up so it looks like you cut something out, because that's an automatic. And this was the most important thing that he told me, or that they were talking about. If you're doing your video, if the first joke isn't funny, they don't even look at the rest.
That's what it's similar. That's what Cody said too.
First joke
pretty
isn't
much.
funny.
I mean, you have to.
And
they're only going to watch like the first 30 seconds or minute maybe or whatever.
Yeah, and so you do that first joke, they'll go listen to the second joke. If the second joke isn't funny, they leave, and then after about 4 jokes, they're like, "All right, he's pretty good."
Yeah.
So they may not even watch the whole thing.
I would say probably never, rarely, ever.
Well, I barely find time to do it.
Yeah.
Like I'm just looking through people's stuff, and I'm not even close to.
I
as
feel
big
like
as-
that you kind of know most of the people that you're booking. You've seen or a little bit about. And it's not like you're trying to book people that you've never heard of yet.
But there's people that offer it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I get them all the time.
Yeah.
They get message me, and I have no qualms. Like, send it to me. I'm happy to look at it. My problem is I'm an electrician.
Yeah.
I have my own business.
Like
I got a family, and I'm trying to be a comedian. If I don't end up getting around to it or I miss it, then hit me up again. Hey, man, did you get a chance to look at this?
That's always the best thing. I mean, that's something I've always known, and as far as just being persistent, as far as like say you wanted a job, right? And like you put in an application and you don't hear anything back, it's like you gotta badger them to,
Yeah.
if you really
Well,
care.
I wouldn't say badger.
But it's like as far as you kind of have to, as some people. I mean,
follow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like but I think I say badger because I think following up isn't even enough. Like you have to do more than just follow up.
Well, I disagree. If you badger me, I'm not going to look at your stuff.
Saying, but I say that jokingly
Okay,
though
gotcha.
too. But it is a step further than just following up once, because I think that can work. But I think most of the time, even that's not enough.
I think after you follow up twice and it doesn't happen,
I think
you let
that's
it go.
probably the actual answer.
Like you
but
just
still, it's like,
hey, did you see this?
Yeah.
Hey, just checking back on this.
But sometimes I
And then
think
that's
even
it.
the I don't know, or I especially if a lot of time goes by, I think a lot of things with me too. It's like I'll feel like, oh, I messaged this person, they didn't get back to me. I followed up again, and they didn't get back to me. And then it's like maybe 6 months later, it's like, okay, let me try it again. You know what I mean? Like in that way, it's like just don't give
100% on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Give yourself time.
Right.
Don't be like every other day. Have you looked
But
at this?
yeah.
Yeah. The okay, another so the bookers, they want to see that little bio, a little bit of information. Doesn't need to be crazy. Just tell them where you're from, what you do. If you can, give them a clean set and a dirty set, or give them 5-minute set and a 20-minute set, depending on what you're looking to do, or a 30-minute set if you're trying to headline. And then just wait, kind of see. Let me see what else. Oh, if you want to add credits, make sure they aren't false credits, because they're going to check. If you do that, they won't even look. If you lie, then they won't even look at your stuff. And it doesn't matter if you were in the same room as them. Like, you can't just put that you opened for them, right? So, let's see. Video credits. Let's see. Okay, yeah. That's pretty much the first day. The second day, we went over with Ron Jossel, very funny comedian. He was the headliner for that night, so he came out to the second day panel and kind of just gave us some information. I was talking to him about just kind of doing comedy and stuff in Oklahoma City and kind of and he gave me a lot of great information as far as like something that Daryl and a few of the other comedians I talked to, Olivia Searcy, she was another one. She produces shows, I think, out in Florida and kind of around there. But she was telling me that she'll set up a stage, kind of like we were talking. She'll have a stage there, and she can't be there all the time, right? But she'll book that show all year so she can go there once. And so she'll have the stage, and she'll make sure that it's working and keep it alive for her to come back to. And she'll do that over a few places, as far as like coming wherever she's traveling to or whatever. She'll do that. That kind of helped me understand, like, okay, so if you're booking and you're trying to keep a place going, then you're going to have to, it sucks because you almost have to be a booker to be a amateur comedian, just to keep places and stages going.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think I get it, because it's like, as far as you have to keep creating your own opportunities. I think that there's not enough opportunities not to do that, unless you're freaking, I think, but even when you get into the level of like Kevin Hart, as far as like megastar status, they have to do that too. You know, they produce their own shows, and I think that's even better because you have more control over that stuff. Absolutely. I know that's something that a lot of movie stars will do. Like once they get super famous, I mean, you get so big as an actor, making so much money, then it's like they usually will start their own production companies and start making their own movies and like being directors and being producers on those things, because then they have like Margot Robbie is one of the ones who played Harley Quinn. Like she's so megastar status, and like she just makes her own shit now. And now no one can tell her what to do. It's like she's in control of every project she does now because she has all the money.
And that's exactly it. I mean, the benefit is if you're running a show or you're running a room, you have the ability to bring other people in, meet new comics, do some networking, and then you also have a stage that you can invite bookers to come watch you. You go, hey, look,
get more opportunities.
I'll give you 2 free tickets. Y'all come in, kind of do that. I want you to see me. One of the things that he talked about was inviting people to come see you at shows or bookers, or going and meet the bookers at their show, watch their show, handshake, and kind of get in front of them. And you can ask for a 5-minute guest spot if they're interested. Obviously, don't push if they're don't. If
Just
it doesn't
mention it.
Just like hey, just seeing if I get on. No, okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
So I think it's pretty easy to tell if they're interested in that or not.
Or even ask them, is it possible I'll come out for free? I just want to show you what I can do. I give you 5 and 10 minutes, kind of show you what I can do to get a guest spot. Those are a few ways to get in. And then once a booker sees you and they feel like they're going to use you, well, then there's an opportunity there, But, and that also comes, I think whenever you run your own show, it helps you understand the plight of a booker.
And it puts you on that side of it so that you can kind of know what, what's the best thing to even how to approach certain things maybe.
Yeah.
Or especially, I think it's just regardless, knowing more things about whatever industry you're in, even if you're not doing those things, helps you be better at your job in it because you can see the bigger picture as a whole and kind of see yourself where you fit in better and do a better job. I mean, I just think about it with music, right? Like, I learned how to play the drums just because I kind of always wanted to, or just, I don't know, and it's ultimately not something that I'm very passionate about because I don't do it. But it's like I can play a drum beat, it's like I could get better if I practice. Yeah. But it's like, just learning even basic rock drum beat and kind of that stuff made me such a better bass player, like by far, and just made me think about the drums in a way different way than I ever did before. So it definitely is always good to try out certain things like that if you can. If you're a musician or if you're a comic, just try booking or producing one show and see if you like it. If you don't like it, then whatever. But you'll learn a lot.
And something you can remember is Ms. Kitty does the Ugly Flamingo, and she allows people to borrow that to try out hosting and producing a show. She'll let you pick the lineup. Obviously, it has to be approved a little bit on her side, but she is offering that ability. So if you want to go produce a show or learn, there's an opportunity.
They're doing some more of that, like Bill's Steakhouse, I think, or something. They're doing some other kind of. I know she's doing like workshop stuff.
Well, she's been doing the workshop
but it's
stuff.
Like something about. I saw something about she posted about at Bill's specifically about doing a show there where it's like practice hosting or practice something. I don't know.
Well, maybe she's offering that up in different spots.
But it's just like it's the same thing. It's just her whole mentality is trying to teach and trying to give people opportunities to try different things like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and to speak more of what you're talking about as far as like you learn drums and that helps you with bass. Yeah. I did the same thing with being an electrician and then becoming an electrical contractor.
Right.
I used to be like, oh, why does my boss not want to pay me more? Why does my boss not trust me with stuff? And now I look back and I go, oh, no, most people are crap.
Yeah. But then it's like now you being on that end, you're like, oh, well, it's just everything sucks.
Yeah. Why doesn't the employees work for less?
Why don't they show up on time?
But you get to see, basically, once you see how it's made and the difficulties that people have to go through, you have a little bit more grace for it.
I mean, that's the thing. It's just understanding. That's such a huge thing, I think, in all forms of communication is like just especially when it comes to just any conversation or communications. Like I always think about this with like romantic relationships and stuff. It's like it's been a while since I've had one of those, but when I do get back to that, it's like I'll have a lot better way of dealing with things. It's just like I've learned so much about communication, I would say tactics, but it's not, it's just kind of best practices as far as like just saying what's bothering you up front and just not letting things fester and just not hiding things from people. I think that's like always the biggest thing with relationships. It's like usually if there's a problem between people in relationships, like somebody's not saying something that they need to,
That's true.
And it's just like, it's simple. Even if it's hard to say those things, you have to do it because you're going to feel 1,000 times better no matter what the outcome is. Yeah. And a lot of that is because one side just doesn't understand what the other one is thinking or feeling because it's not unsaid. But like you said, like you were saying, it's just if you can try to explain that, or if you can get the other party to understand your side of it, it makes everything just easier, and it makes that other party more, like you said, give more grace and be like, oh, okay, I understand where you're coming from now.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be pissed.
And you're more of a team than you are combative.
You come back to solve an issue instead of fighting against it. So
that's a very good point.
But yeah, I think that goes a long way in every type of, like you said, that kind of back and forth between people, because it's, if you can try to put yourself in the shoes of someone else too, that helps you understand them. Yeah. And understand why they might make decision that you're not happy with or something like that.
Well, and something that I think that we should be thinking on too, whenever you're dealing with bookers, or you're maybe looking to be booked, is they may not like you. Yeah. And it's not even like your comedy's good. Yeah. They have a they like a clean show.
Right. Or it's like, because they might see you and it's like, oh, you've got a green shirt on. I hate green. You know? But it's like, that's obviously probably not true. But I mean, as far as it could be something like that. I mean, similar.
But, don't let it beat you up.
But it's like, it probably has nothing to do with you, really. But it's like, people have biases. I mean, obviously. Like, but you just don't know why somebody might not like you.
There could be it's not even, nothing about you, nothing about your comedy as much as it's maybe you don't fit into this space well. They don't want to put you in a place where you could do poorly. So it's like, okay. Why would you want to put yourself in a bad position, you know? And then unless you can go, hey, let me prove myself. Let me get in front of you and see. Won't you come to my show? Can I come to your show?
It's like showing them because and that goes into it too. I think the same thing. It's like a booker sees you and just has an assumption, or just basically going into that, they don't understand who you are actually until they know more about you, learn more, see you perform, and then it's like, oh, okay, I get it now. I know what this person's about. So I think that could be. But yeah, I don't know. It's all really great tips and things like that for booking.
So that was the booking. They also went over social media and how important it is. So one of the things that was very disheartening was how much social media, how important social media is. One of the difficult things to realize was that stand-up comedy is a lot more than just doing the comedy. Just like being in a band and doing music is a lot more than just being in a band and doing music. We can stay here, be in this room, play music to each other all day, have a good time, right? Yeah. But in order to get out there, to make this your job, you've got to work these angles, and it's everybody's working it. Anybody who's good is trying to work it, and so you have to learn to manage it as well. So what we found is, so the social media aspect, you have to post every day. You have to post every day. You have to find where you're more likely to be seen. So for comedy clips, it's normally between 11 and 1, or in the afternoon when people get off work. Or whenever on the weekends, it's around 9 to 12. So if you can kind of start looking at your analytics and stuff.
I think that's because I've thought a lot about that for many years, about post timing and stuff like that. I mean, personally, there definitely is a lot of science, the statistics that you could look at and all of that and find out the best. I mean, personally though, it's like I stopped thinking about that stuff a long time, and maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should think more, but it's just like, I don't know. I just think ultimately, if people are going to see it, they're going to see it. It doesn't really make. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference if you post it at 1 p.m. versus 3 p.m. or 1:30 or 2. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't.
I agree.
Maybe it does.
It's like setting.
I think it's. If you can, try to leverage everything you can.
You can. But at least post every day. Yeah. It doesn't matter what time, as long as you post every day.
I do agree with
the
that.
minimum.
That's absolutely true.
At least do that.
Because I've talked to a lot of people. Like, I think JJ Wood talks about that too, about timing and stuff like that. And I think it is good because you do want to get the best bang for your buck, because it takes time to set these things up and and do all this. Because I think he was talking to me about scheduling or something, or scheduled posts. Somebody was talking to me about how they think the scheduled posts are bullshit. They don't actually push out as much as if you actually schedule, or if you don't schedule it, their schedule option. if you actually just do it at the time, it's better. I don't know.
I don't think it is.
I mean,
I think,
but-
or if you do it at the time that it's meant to.
Like for whatever reason,
Yeah.
like if you set up a post to schedule, say it's midnight on a Thursday night, and you're scheduling it for the next day to post at 9 a.m. or 11 a.m. And then he is saying that if he scheduled it and it went out that time, it didn't do as well as if he just posted it at that time without the pre-scheduled aspect.
Maybe.
That's a whole
Yeah,
algorithm
I think
thing.
that's again,
knows?
post every day. If you
But
can
yeah.
at least post every day, you're doing good. Later on, maybe you can tweak it a little bit, but you got to build the habit of posting every
Right,
day.
that's a good point. And just I think that goes into
And they're talking.
Yeah,
he was
Sting.
talking like reaction videos, anything you can get up
Yeah.
there, basically, just like clips. Obviously, for stand up, that's a huge one. Clips, but you could do like joke of the day. You can do slice of life.
whatever it
So like
is.
me as an electrician, my drive in between one job to another. We call this is something I'm pitching to myself, but I'll call it windshield talk.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of like
That's something-
talk about something silly or
those are good points, and something I've thought a lot about too with social media for years. Also, is just like posting, and I was doing this. I've been really bad about it in the past like year probably, but it's like I used to do that where I would like just. I think as an artist, like if you want to be more well known, if whatever you are, comic, musician. And it's like, yeah, you have your comedy stuff, you post that stuff, and then people expect that and they like it or whatever. But what people like more than that is not stuff like you were saying, your daily life, your whatever. It's like they just like seeing you. That's what they actually
Yeah.
care about. They don't care necessarily that you're the funniest person. It's like they follow you because they like you and they want to see you. And they want to see you, like you said, driving to work. Like I used to post myself at the lake, walking around.
Yeah, I
and stuff
like
that
those.
because it's just like something different, and it breaks it up instead of seeing the same. Like, oh,
Well, I
it's
think-
another comedy clip. You know.
I think what we are is journalists from our corner of
Yeah.
life.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah,
think
trying to
comedians
share
do
your-
that because nobody knows specifically what nobody knows about electrical.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows that LEDs changed like 5 or 6, 7 years ago. But I have this different
Yeah,
perspective of details of life that I can expose and show, and you do that with your art. Another benefit of having an Instagram or a Facebook that you're keeping up with and posting every day is now you have a portfolio. So now whenever a booker or somebody else comes to see you,
Yeah.
what I'll do is I'll grab
Yeah.
videos from other people, and whenever I book them on a show, I'll grab a clip and then I'll add it to my stories along with the poster from the show, and now I'm advertising with
Yeah,
their clip.
yeah.
So you have the ability to advertise when you're a booker, so it's beneficial for a booker to
Yeah,
see you
just
have
to
that.
have that.
It also shows what you've been doing. So like I said, it's a portfolio from
Yeah,
all
it's
your
like
comedy.
a resume of your
Exactly.
past 6 months, a year, or whatever it is. They can look at and say, "Oh, you've been doing this show and this show," and especially whenever you're on with bigger acts or whatever, it's like, "Oh, you opened for this person." So that's really good.
Yeah.
I think I do like that stuff about posting variety of different things. I like that. I think you should start doing something like filming a little reel from your van and
That's the
just post.
plan.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's something I started thinking about doing with DoorDash. It's like because I thought about this idea too. It's like I don't know if I should bring it up because I might actually do it.
Well, don't then. The windshield time, I think I'll do. I
But
just
it's
don't think
similar.
anybody else
Yeah,
is going to
I
do
think
it.
but no, I think that's kind of a good idea because going into that, or one thing that I take a lot of ideas from a podcast that I've been listening to, or I guess I don't know what you would call them. They're called Kind of Funny on YouTube and Twitch. They do a lot of video game stuff, but entertainment stuff. I've been watching it for like 8 years or something. Anyways, there's Greg Miller, who's the head of that, does a show because they do like weekly, daily, like basically talk shows where they talk about video games. But they do like just they're live like for 5-6 hours a day, pretty much doing stuff. But they have an additional bonus show that's from their Patreon, and it's called Greg Way. And it's just Greg Miller in his car driving to work, and he just talks about whatever it is. And it could be however long. It could be. I've never really watched them, so I don't have the Patreon subscription right now, but I've seen some of them. But yeah, it could be just and it's just whatever thoughts. It's just him. But people love that because he's like the one that everyone loves on that show. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
the personality for sure.
The main.
Shout out Game Over Gregory.
But so but I love that. And I think that's a perfect thing for someone like you to do too. It's like just have that extra piece of content that's a little bit more behind the scenes, a little bit more like, because it's just him and his iPhone. It's not no other editing. I don't think.
Yeah.
And so they just put that out for people that pay the $10 a month or whatever.
I love that. Yeah.
So,
I think that's very
that's
good.
like an idea we could take and just use for us for Rhythm and Wit.
Yeah.
Once we get that kind of Patreon thing going and have that exclusive bonus content.
Yeah, exclusive.
Yeah. But yeah, just doing it for your Instagram is a great idea, and I think that would be really fun. Because there's another one. Oh, because one of the guys, Nick Scarpino, used to he's a stand-up comic in San Francisco. Years ago, he used to do he had like Instagram Live kind of show that he would do he would always do it at the comedy clubs and stuff like that, but it was just called Nick at Night.
Oh, that's cool.
It was just dumb little videos from a phone, like filming himself, and but I think that's kind of stuff that I'm always inspired by. So obviously it works for them because they're freaking very successful.
Yeah. Okay, so something with the bookers: be friends best you can, be genuine. Don't be, there. It's gonna come out if you're not.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Kill and kill often. So that's really mostly try to be funny, undeniably funny. And something else they mentioned was don't just get in front of somebody because you can. A lot of times if you're not ready and you get in front of them, then they end up having a bad opinion of you. And that might be worse for you and hold you back.
Kind of jumping the gun as far as.
So get funny.
Yeah.
Get funny.
That goes into something that I think about a lot too, is like just being prepared. Like the success is preparedness meets opportunity. So it's like if you're not prepared for that when that opportunity comes through, then that will equal not success, right? So you need those two things. Like you have to be ready. That's why I think it's so important to emphasize practicing and just trying to be as good as you can and get better, as much as you can.
Absolutely.
So that when those opportunities do knock, you can knock it out of the park.
Yeah. And that's what basically they were saying was like, hey, you don't want to get somewhere where you're not ready yet, and then now you're going to have to wait longer to get there later.
Up that opportunity. Yeah.
But if you are there, then get in front of them. Whatever it takes to get in front of somebody, ask them, go there, do it for free. Just get in front of them so you can start getting booked. Because that's an investment in yourself, to be honest with you. A lot of people are paying a lot of money to go to college to get degrees, to invest in themselves, to have a better job in life later. You can spend $100 going to a town and figure in 5 minutes on a stage to people have worked harder for less, But either way, that was one of the things. Another thing was just because you have a Kill Tony thing doesn't mean you should tell people about it.
Yeah.
One of the things he said is like some people will say as seen on Kill Tony, and then he'll look up their stuff, and then he was like, you ate shit for an hour or for a minute or whatever, and then they just made fun of you forever. And it's like, it's not a great representation of who you are, and it's never going to come down. So you have to be prepared. And
sometimes those that's a perfect opportunity. It's like if you get that opportunity, you better be ready.
Yeah.
Or you should say no because it could hurt you.
Well, I mean, I don't know much about. I don't really keep up with Kill Tony just because personally, I think it's a little bit like it. Yeah, they're using the comics to gain notoriety. It's almost like an American Idol thing. I mean, I understand that it's great, but I think it also it's sacrificing people too. So that's just not anything bad with it, but I mean, it's entertaining, obviously, but it's just not my bag.
That's the thing is like people love to see people humiliated. That's the problem.
That's the problem. That's why I like stuff like Jeremiah Watkins Stand Up on the Spot or those type of shows. I don't really like roast shows either, or roast just because it seems almost mean spirited. Yeah, but that being said, I was actually on a roast show. That was my second show at Tower City. It was my first one. Yeah. I had a roast show before at Kitty's where it was the honey roast, where you just kind of nice and you roast. But, and then we did that practice roast kind of at Lively. You remember that one? Did you read that one?
Yeah, I think so. I remember.
Ben Mina was there.
I think no, maybe I missed it.
Yeah, that's when Michael took it over.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
think it was like the first show after that.
Okay, yeah, I remember. Yeah, now I do
second
remember. I remember the poster for it. Yeah, I definitely wasn't there.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
But that's cool.
But this was it. This is like we're real audience. I mean, obviously these are real, but this is like in a comedy club. It was at Tower City Comedy, their comedy club. We went in, super nervous, but we were the first. I think there was a set of people before us, and then we went up. I think it was Cody and another comedian, Cody Troutman. I don't think Cody won that one. No, he won that one, but he moved on further. And then I went up against John Wallen.
Okay, was it a competition for that thing?
Yeah, it was
the whole thing
within it. Yeah, so you win, and then you kind of it's a tournament style.
Right, okay,
so people would drop it, and then eventually the last two would go up. So I went up.
Yeah, John Wallen.
Short, punchy jokes.
Yeah.
I tried my best, but something I recognize is you don't have to use the truth, and the people out there don't know it. They don't know they don't know John Wallen.
Lie.
Yeah, you don't have to use it because they don't know John Wallen.
Yeah.
So like, and so one of my hardest hitting ones was one that was not even personalized towards him. So one of the ones I did was like, hey, John Wallen won funniest in OKC, right? Which is like, if you won best dressed at Chuck E. Cheese, I did that one to kind of, a little bit. I did, it's really hard roasting. I didn't want to roast anybody from OKC that I liked, which is why I'm really glad that I'm roasting John Wallen.
Yeah. It's like you didn't have to roast Cody.
But John Wallen got me with a couple hits. And then the one I did that really got the biggest laugh that was not even personal, wasn't, it was just like...
John's teeth look like his parents live paycheck to paycheck.
You see what you laugh, and it was like blah.
I mean, it's basically like you could go up and just tell some of the best your mama jokes.
That's what I was gonna say.
Basically, you know what I mean? Like they're just completely random. I'm
also a novice, so that.
Yeah,
it's Wallen
especially with roasting. I mean, that's a whole other skill as far as when it comes to comedy, I think.
And I tried to. Anyways, I'm glad I didn't make it past him because my other ones were kind of nice. It was based on what I saw everybody else do.
Yeah, it was like
I was like, oh, I'm not mean enough. But anyway, so Wallen beat me handedly, and then we got off. But it was fun. It was a good experience. And then, but then I think it was Cody after that, and Olivia. I'm kind of mixing it up here, but ultimately the winner. Cepeda cheeks, dude. Cepeda cheeks.
I think I saw you post it with a picture with him saying that he won something. I was like, I wonder. I didn't know. I was like, I thought this was a festival. I didn't know it was a competition.
Yeah,
but it was like a roast battle.
Well, he did the roast battle, and he eviscerated everybody.
That's cool.
Obviously,
I'd like to see it. I've only ever seen him do. I mean, his regular set, which is incredible, but I've seen him do comedy on the spot once. So I'd love to have seen that just to see what he could do with that because it sounds cool.
Well, he killed this dude, and it was after I was just like, oh my god, like what? I go up to him, I go, hey man, how do you how do you do that? I mean, I'm basically trying to get like, how do you write for that?
Yeah,
and he goes, dude. My last name is Cheeks.
Yeah, he's heard it all.
I went to the army. It's like I was like, oh, you just lived it. Yeah. It's not writing; it's trauma.
Yeah.
So, but no, he's right. It's like there's a little bit of that in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is because I just always think back to our episode with Julie Drake when she talked about roasting. I think she's like one of the best, I'm sure, and
in OKC. For
yeah.
Sure.
So but I think it comes back down to like kind of experience in your life, like growing up in a certain situation where it's like, I mean, especially if you like grow up with a lot of brothers and sisters or a lot of people that just roast each other all day, you're gonna naturally be better at that from going through that kind of stuff and having to deal with that. So,
well, I think of it like a weaponized it's like weaponized trauma. It's really like it's something I used to use to like protect. Now it's like, oh, now I know how to use it. So let me go ahead and just make people laugh.
I don't know. I think that roasting and stuff like that, roast battles are great for the people that are great at them, but it's not for everyone. I think
we used to like whenever we grew up, you would like rag on each other, you do mama jokes and just like go back and forth. And there was people who were good at it then, and those people just got better. So I think, and also like Julie came up in a place where she was like around a majority of men. She had to protect herself, and so like, she's good at roasting.
It's like whenever you're put in that position where you have to protect yourself in that way, you're gonna get better at it quickly, and then obviously translate it to the stage if you can.
So it was good to see that. It was fun. It was fun to be part of. I would be interested in doing more roast shows just to kind of get better at it. Once I saw like the writing. The writing is
because I think like you were saying, once you kind of realize it doesn't have to necessarily be personal. You know,
you're just saying mean shit.
Yeah, I mean, really, you could be good at it as a writer, as far as like you could write a lot of roast jokes and get better at writing those types of jokes. And then whenever it comes down to if you had a real, a roast battle with someone, because you pretty much know at least. I mean, most of these shows, I know they set, a month or weeks in advance, so you know who you're going to be going up against, so you can write stuff against them. Leading into it. So if you get better at writing for that, then there's no reason why you couldn't be.
Well,
good
you're ultimately writing for an archetype. One of the jokes that I had for Wallen was he looks like his mom gives him concession money for the X Games. And it's because he has that skateboarder kind of. He talks about kick flipping over his depression, and like he looks like a skateboarder. He works for Vans,
right?
It's kind of. But it's a little personal too, so it's like you really don't need to because it just needs to be mean. But it's more something I'd like to explore and figure out. Okay, so let's see sponsors. We talked about doing sponsors with Daryl. That seems to be like the next piece for us as far as Nick Campbell comedy.
Yeah, I think it's even going to.
There's really not much other to that other than
Andrew. I mean, Andrew's been getting into more and more people sponsoring. I mean, the 500 that was sponsored for the contest that he just put on was a donation, a sponsorship from a person that had a lot of money, or a business owner. So it's like, I think that's definitely something that we need to focus more on, and I think that's definitely one of the only real ways to grow as far as monetarily in doing this stuff. It's like I think the ticket sales are never going to be good enough on their own. Yeah. I feels like.
But where were we at? Sorry. I wanted to step back into the social media part.
Oh, yeah. That's what we were talking about. Because we were talking about, like, posting every day.
Follow your passion, kind of your slice of life stuff. What you're more passionate about, you're more likely to post.
That's something, too. I mean, you could start... I mean, if you had more time, I guess. But it's like figuring out how to do something video game related,
Yeah, I would love that.
I mean, that would be one of the best things for you personally to do to, because that's what you love. So
I'll also promote for my business. Yeah. And I fear crossing those. Yeah. Just because comedy can be, that's not what my customers are looking for,
Or it's like you don't want to infuse Campbell and Son Electric with so much of your Nick Campbell comedy to where it's like, okay.
Well, I also want to talk about whatever I want to talk about. And if I want to have a business that's seen as like professional, there's going to be some things that I don't want to mix there. Yeah. But it's something to think about as far as like that is a big part of who I am. I could meet those two and marry them and then kind of see how they work together. People will stop watching you if you don't evolve. So if you're just doing the same thing all the time, it's like TV. Eventually, you're going to get bored and watch something else.
A lot with bands, I feel like there are certain bands that I've been watching for years and still playing the same songs, which I think sometimes that's not as big of a deal. I mean, for me, because I know I'm not. Maybe most people that go see this band maybe has never heard these songs ever. I mean, it's like doing jokes, I think, same thing. There are definitely a lot of comics that I've seen that are still doing the same jokes after 2 years of me watching them, which is like, okay, sometimes that's okay because a lot of times I'm the only one in the audience that have seen them before. So that's not, that's a me problem. But at the same time, I like seeing, especially with music, it's like for me, like I haven't been in a band, I mean, since the AVR days even. It's like we always had new stuff. I mean, most of the time, you know, if you came to see us once and then again 6 months later, we usually had
two or three.
Yeah,
songs.
at least
Yeah.
half the set would be
Yeah.
different. I mean,
Well, we wrote different. We wrote a lot.
But I think
back
that's personally the way
Yeah.
I like to do, and that's why I love playing with Josh, because it's like I don't think we've ever played the same set twice.
Nice.
You know, it's like, I mean, as far as even so. But I think that's obviously harder. I think with comedy because it's harder to write a really good joke than it is to write a really good song. I think, or it's because jokes take longer to really become really great. It takes a lot more
trial and error.
Yeah. And whereas a song, you could write a great song like in 5 hours, and you know, so it is tough. But I'd like to see that more of just people, you know, like you were saying, evolving more and growing and doing new jokes. I think that a lot of it, similar with music and comedy, is that we get like married to these songs or jokes to where it's like, oh, we don't want to let them go. I think it's very important to learn as an artist to learn how to kill your babies because not all of them are as cute as you think they are. You know, it's like
there's some real babies that need that.
actual babies. Well, those babies will grow up, hopefully,
and they'll
not be in society.
Walmart workers.
But you know, it's like, but I do think that is a problem with a lot of artists. It's just we get so attached to these things we create, and we think that they're the best things ever made. But it's like you just got to learn how to let it go, even if it is
you
that
really
good.
can't even move forward unless you let some of that go.
That's why I think it's like, even if it is the best joke ever, the best song ever, okay, well, that's done. You still got to move on. You can't, you know.
Well, that's the beauty of comedy, too, is it's always evolving and changing. You can change tags. But if you're not changing the joke, you're not evolving, then I think that's also... I mean, here's what I'm running into. I'm doing these same jokes I've been doing for a while, and I've got my adoption stuff, and that moves right into my grandpa stuff, and it's like, all right, I'm still this guy, right? I'm still adopted, so that stuff works.
But you've grown. You're 2 years older than you were than when you wrote those.
So what am I trying to say now? Like, are these things that represent what I actually feel? At a certain point, it becomes, these are jokes in my back pocket that I can pull out at any point in time, and I'm just talking, and I want to connect with the crowd, and I want to do my stuff that I like that's newer because that's who I am. But then, if somebody comes around and they've got one of those heart slings, then I'm going to do that.
That like it's a perfect opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a good way to approach it. I think that the one thing is with doing the same material all the time, I think it's okay if you're always in front of new crowds. But if you're in front of a lot of the same crowds, that's when I think it does become a problem, because obviously no one's, it's like, we're going to be sick of hearing the same joke. We already know the punchline.
Yeah,
so
well, that's the problem with court.
Yeah.
I can't do this. I have to write a new 5 minutes every time for court, and that's where we're at now. It's like, that's why we have to bring in outside headliners, because they've already seen everybody here.
So that's kind of,
So if we want to evolve and get better, we have to either be fresh or, the other thing is riffing or crowd work, and do you want that to be your whole shtick?
Because something whenever we saw Evan at Put a Cork in It, Evan Hughes came down to Put a Cork in It recently, and like watching him and then talking to him afterwards, it's like I think he is exactly what you just described. Like he has 10 years of material that he can just pull out of his pocket, and he did that night, and it felt very natural. Like he didn't struggle. I mean, it was, I'm sure, a little bit of a struggle just dealing with that audience, because they're very rowdy and very talkative a lot. But he handled it perfectly, and I think that you could tell the 10 years of jokes that he could just pull. It's like and he was very much in the room where it's like, okay, if he felt like, okay, now I can tell this joke or tell this story because it just felt right. I think that's a big part of it. And I think the only way to do that is to write jokes for 10 years and and tell jokes for 10 years and learn how to navigate those waters and kind of know when the right time to pull out certain jokes is. So I think I saw him, and who else recently did we have that was like a long time like vet, kind of tenure, like Brad Chad, I think.
Brad Chad, yeah.
He's similar. He was just so natural as far as like he would just get up on stage and not say anything for a few seconds and just think of a joke that, I'm sure he's told a 1,000 times. And
well, he has a very talking to a buddy behind the bar feel, and that's what you get whenever that's something I recognized at the festival is people when they do their set, even if nobody's laughing, the good ones, and it wasn't even like, I think that the South Iron, I think the crowd wasn't as warm. You had to work a little harder for the laughs, right? And what I recognized in some of these professionals is they performed their set like they were laughing anyways.
Yeah.
And while they were doing it, they still sounded conversational. Like they never went back and was like, guess that didn't work.
Yeah,
they weren't like,
exactly.
All right.
Like, it's like, because, you can't, I think I get it too, because you can, it's like they're not phased by a joke now, or they're not phased by anything. It's just like
if you keep moving, it just sounds like conversation.
Yeah.
If it doesn't hit. Now, if you drop a bomb like we're talking about, like you say something crass or crazy, and people are like, huh.
Yeah.
Then you have to comment.
Yeah.
But quiet, if they're just still quiet, then you
just keep rolling.
Keep rolling. You don't say anything about that. You just kind of keep moving, and you move to the next joke, and then you keep performing like you're in it. So don't lose your nerve. Just kind of really feel the emotions and do the joke. And something that JJ said, JJ Wood, it's better to have. Well, it's not better, but it's preferable to have it's better to be able to have a weak bomb than a strong kill.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, right? A strong bomb than a weak kill.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
okay, yeah, you're like putting it all. Just go for it instead of trying to.
And don't act like
safe.
anything happened.
Right.
Just and then whenever it's over, go, hey, thank you, and then get off stage and then go cry in a corner. But deal with it after. When you're on stage, you're doing a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as like the right way to do it, I think it's going back to when you were saying about like the conversation aspect, where it just feels like, I think one of the best examples I've seen was Blue Whale, when we saw Beth Stelling.
Yeah.
Like she was just up there telling us about her life, and it was just
crazy
like
apartment.
I was just like, oh, it legit just felt like you were just sitting and having coffee with someone, and they were but it was hilarious, and it was like very well like crafted stories as far as like you really felt like you were there. It's just very well put together. So, but it felt like she was just very. Because I think, was she sitting down? No,
she was standing up.
For whatever reason,
all over the place.
Like I felt like she was, because that's how relaxed it was.
Yeah,
like
it was effortless.
Sitting, chilling, drinking some coffee, smoking a cigarette or something, just hanging out. That's what it felt like to me.
But she would have done the same set whether they were laughing or not.
I think that's something
what
about that too. Is what made me think of that when you said that, was like, she just kept going, even if no matter what it was, because she was just telling us about her day, of this story about her apartment or whatever.
Yeah,
it was just like. Yeah, it didn't really. But I mean, because I say that, but it's like she got laughs. It was hilarious. People were laughing, but I'm sure there was some stuff in there that, she maybe expected people to laugh and it didn't, but you wouldn't know.
Yeah, 100%. I think the biggest takeaways were I ain't shit, and that's okay.
Yeah.
If you're looking to get booked, be respectful, be kind, be honest, give them everything they need up front, and then just kind of wait. Try to get in front of them in any way. But ultimately, like I said, the biggest takeaways as far as like just enjoy it, keep after it. Book shows.
Hell yeah.
Book shows, make your own thing. People will help you if you're helping yourself.
I think that's something that it sounds to me, at least, or I mean, a lot of stuff. Is it just reinforcing a lot of ideas that I've had for a long time, and especially with the social media stuff, and like, but it just proves that it's like those ideas are legit and like actually matter, like that, like you're saying, posting every day, posting stuff that's not necessarily what you're always focusing on your art when you're just making dinner or something. Like people like that. They like to see those things. So I think that's a good takeaway. I think the booking aspects, obviously, a lot of that stuff you're not going to know unless you talk to somebody and actually learn about the way it works. So I think that's very, very helpful.
Yeah, it's been an eye-opening. I mean, in a lot of, even an affirmation on all of it is nice, because you're like, okay, well, there is a path. It is about what I was thinking.
Right. That's something, because I keep thinking, too, it's like, I was telling you this before, it's like all these things that I'm trying to do with my life and these trying to build something with my skills. It's like, is this even possible? It's like in my mind, I'm like, am I, I think that it doesn't matter if it is or not. It's like I still need to go through the process to figure it out. Because even if you told me I was going to be successful tomorrow, that doesn't matter right now.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, I still need to get there. So, but I think it's a lot of it's just I don't know. I think that this kind of shows when you meet people, because I think about this too. It's like everyone that we've met or you've seen, anyone that you've seen do a comedy special or sell out a freaking auditorium or arenas and all this junk. It's like those people are just like us in some way. It's like they had to start in the same positions and do, So it's like, yes, anything is possible,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like you got to keep at it and just keep plugging away. And I think that there are obviously things that we need to learn that are going to be better and make us hopefully get us there quicker or get us there more efficiently or whatever. So those are the things that we got to try to focus on, and hopefully what we can help share with this show.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it does help. Another thing is go to festivals, not for the stage time.
Right.
You might just get 5 minutes and one night there, but if you can get there, talk to people who have the same experience. We met people from California that we saw at Blue Whale. We met people from Wild West Fest that were there that we knew.
Yeah.
There was familiar faces from,
I said, it's like a good network. It's like a community of people that you're gonna. If you go to more festivals, you're gonna start seeing the same people and building those networks and connections with people across the country.
100%. And what's going to happen? They're going to get further. You're going to get further. You're going to get on one region. They're going to get on one region. They're going to start taking you. You're going to start taking them. You're building relationships for the future. And the only way to build a relationship with somebody is to be present. Right?
Yeah.
And so the only way you can get hit by lightning is by standing in the rain.
Yeah, no, I like that too, because that's something I have always pushed myself to do, is just be around the entertainment industry that I want to be a part of. It's like, if you're not at shows, if you're not at, just where these people hang out at or whatever, it's like, if you're not there, you're not going to get any opportunities. You're not going to meet anyone because you're sitting at home,
Well, if you're not submitting to bookers, if you're not recording your sets, if you're not finding things that are funny, if you're not writing every day, and you're seeing somebody else who's getting opportunities, are you doing what they're doing?
Yeah.
Are you putting in the effort? Are you doing the things that you can't be? All right. So you're pushing. I mean, obviously we all have time constraints. We have families, that makes it very difficult, but
yeah, I think that's the other part of it too. It's like we all have shit, even if it doesn't matter who you are. We all have things we have to deal with in our lives that keeps you from doing everything you need to do. But that's a part of it too. Is like, you have to learn how to navigate that. If you want to succeed, you can't use that as an excuse. Because there are plenty of people that have the same restrictions, if not more, that do succeed still. So it's like, what do? They just push through, or you have to make sacrifices. Obviously, that's a big thing that. It's a hard choice, but I think we all have to make sacrifices for art if you want to be successful in art, and that's whatever it is,
Well, what I've learned is the less time you spend thinking about it before doing it is the more likely you're going to do it. So as soon as you think about it, do it as something actionable.
Yeah. That's a good point too.
Don't give yourself time to think about it, because you'll talk yourself out of it.
Exactly. That's something. Yeah, I've definitely tried to focus that for myself, and I've been losing that a little bit, as far as like, I've gotten really good at just pushing myself into action and doing that same thing. I think lately, especially in the past like month or two, I've been thinking too much.
Well, I think it's a muscle.
Doing.
It's a muscle. The more you use it, the better you get. The more
Mm-hmm.
you use it the other way, where you're denying it, then you get better at that.
One thing that I noticed in myself that's been a huge change that won't, I am thankful for that. It's like I have reached a point where it's like you're saying, I can push myself, move forward, stop thinking so much. But then I do kind of go back, right? But it's like it's easier to get back to that other place because I've gotten, I've done it. I proved to myself that I can do certain things where I would doubt myself so much to the point that I wouldn't even try. Mm-hmm. Where it's like that's less and less now, even though it's still there. But it's easier to kind of like flip that switch back and be like, okay, now I just got to freaking go in. And book podcast guests and start,
and once you get the
sending
work started,
emails and start, just making things happen. Yeah.
Once you get the work started, it's never as big as before you start.
It's always, a lot easier than you think it's going to be, I think.
And the worry is gone. Once you start working, the worry is gone. Yeah. So, if you guys do that, any other questions you have?
No, I think that's it. I want to just do some promos for your upcoming shows real quick. I know we got Put a Cork in it. Yeah, so we'll be right back. With some upcoming events. Thanks everyone for watching, and stick around.
We love you. This episode of Rhythm Wit was brought to you by Campbell & Son Electric, Oklahoma City's trusted one-truck electrical contractor with over 20 years of experience in the field. Whether it's upgrading your home's electrical service, troubleshooting issues, or tackling small commercial projects, Campbell & Son Electric delivers top-notch work with care and attention you'd expect from a family business. Servicing areas like Del City, Edmond, Yukon, Mustang, and beyond, they're your go-to for reliable expert service. Need help with your next project? Visit CampbellandSonElectric.com today and get it done right the first time. Campbell & Son Electric, brightening Oklahoma, one wire at a time.
And we're back. Thanks to Campbell & Son Electric for providing the lights for the show. Legitimately, these are your lights.
Yeah, they're our lights, David.
So that was a great ad. And now we just want to talk about some upcoming events for the coming. We have one for this weekend, but also some for next week. So why don't you start us off with your first upcoming event?
All right. Nick Campbell Comedy and Put a Cork in It Winery presents Comedy on the Spot. You guys know where this is. It's Put a Cork in It Winery, one of our favorite places, our venue that we hold 2 shows a month. We have the host, Cody Troutman.
Yay.
We have Matt Rainey.
Yay.
We have Julie Drake.
Yay.
Caleb McCurry,
Yay.
Dace Carlson, and yours truly. All right, this show is a theme show where you pick the topics and we make the comedy. All right, Put a Cork in It Winery, showtime at 6:30. That's going to be downtown Oklahoma City, right under Michael Murphy's. That's going to be this Friday, January 31st, $10 in advance or $15 at the door. And if you want $5 off, the promo code is I Want to Laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait for this show.
It's going to be a good one.
I'll be there filming the show.
As always.
Okay. So next show we wanted to shout out is going to be on Wednesday, February 5th. We have Wampus Weather's Wednesdays. It's another installment in the venerable monthly showcase at Legally Brewed. Comics perform, answer questions, and play a game that gives a couple of audience members some prizes. So the comics don't win prizes.
No.
They have to win them for the audience.
The prize is the set.
So the show is free. This way you can use your Lucra for a quaff or 3.
What's a quaff?
I'm just reading the copy. This month, we have some very funny comedians. We have Brad Chad Porter, we talked about earlier.
Yeah,
great
super
comic.
funny.
Some guy, some asshole, Nick Campbell. I think it's really, really cool that you're on this show finally. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And we have Caitlin Howard. I don't know who that is. That's going to be cool. And the host, Wampus Reynolds, and the person laughing is you.
Hey!
So come out to Wampus Weathers Wednesday on Wednesday, February 5th at Legally Brewed, downtown Norman. So, yeah, check that out. It's going to be free and good time. So,
yeah.
And then, okay, another one I wanted to shout out. I'll just go in order because this is going to be the next day of the week on Thursday, February 6th. There is my favorite open mic and the winner of the Witty Awards for David's pick of favorite open mic. Open mic night with Make Oklahoma Weirder at Factory Obscura is going to be Thursday, February 6th. So you can sign up now because the deadline will be Wednesday at noon, the Wednesday before. So you have plenty of time to sign up. Every first Thursday, we're partnering with Make Oklahoma Weirder. This is Factory Obscura talking. To invite performers of all disciplines and backgrounds to perform on Factory Obscura's Wonder Stage, located inside the Mixtape Immersive Art Experience. Each month we'll have a theme artists can base their performance on, and it's encouraged to interpret the theme in any way the performer seems fit. It is not required to adhere to the theme. This month's theme is love in all its forms.
Ooh,
so that makes sense.
Yeah.
This is how February edition. And so, yeah, check it out. If you want to go watch the open mic, the tickets are $10, and you can get those at factoryobscura.fun. And you can go and check out some of the experience because technically it closes at 7 p.m. whenever the show starts. So only a couple of the rooms are open, but that ticket price, it does include you can check out the rooms that are there, including the Wonder Room, and get to see a lot of really great, mainly music-focused. It's just a lot of musicians that go out there, which is why it's my favorite. But there are some comedy and some poetry and different things, so... And I was going to say this earlier, but I'm pretty sure one of the places what Jarvix finds a lot of these artists that he puts on, because it's very, Factory Obscura is very weird-esque vibes. So, yeah, check that out. I always like to encourage people to sign up because it's a great stage to play on.
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
And get to experience. So yeah, check that out. The Thursday, February 6th.
All right.
And one more.
Anything else? You got one more?
No, then you got one more. Right?
One more. All right. Put a Cork in It Comedy Showcase. All right, we have the Valentine's Day Put a Cork in It Comedy Showcase. We have a very special headliner, Nick Emeka from Chicago, bringing his pal, who's also from Chicago, Louis Michael.
Cool.
All right, and then we also have Julie Drake as well as Michael Patton. This is our comedy showcase that we do, that we put on here at Put a Cork in It. That's going to be Friday, February 14th, Valentine's Day, at 6:30 p.m. That's going to be downtown Oklahoma City as well. That's going to be $15 in advance, $20 at the door. So be sure to grab those tickets early. We really appreciate when you do. That helps us know who's all going to be there. And then come to this one. This is our first real big out-of-town show. We brought some, like I said, headliners that we found at Blue Whale that we really loved seeing, and he was able to come out, and luckily we were able to have him.
Yeah, this is the first big step, I think, into the bigger producing and booking comedy. So that's really fun. I can't wait. And he was super funny when we saw him.
Oh yeah,
Blue
and he's
Whale.
gotten better from what I've heard from others.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
very clever, very clever, very great character, super funny. So be sure to come out and check that out. If you want, there's a promo code again. I want to laugh. That is the promo code that'll get you $5 off.
Nice. All right. So I think that's it for the show. One last thing I wanted to bring up, and I wanted to. Okay, so one last thing we want to talk a little bit about before we end, and just to let y'all know, we are now taking donations to help support Rhythm and Wit. I mean, we've had this up for a while. I just haven't told anybody about it. It's called buymeacoffee.com/rhythmandwit, and that is where you can go and just donate any amount. I think that what they do is, it's called Buy Me a Coffee. You can buy us 1 cup of coffee. costs $5, so you can just donate $5, and that will maybe buy one of us a coffee.
Yeah,
So
we'll sip on it together.
We'll split it.
Yeah.
So you can do that, or you can buy us 10 cups of coffee if you wanted to. So, I mean, that's like a $50 donation, and then that's all goes there. You can leave us a message on there, and if you do leave us a message, we will certainly read it on the air, and thank you for your support. And any of the money that we take from Buy Me a Coffee or any donations at all, we are going to use to put back into the show, whether it's buying new equipment, maybe some mics or cameras or lights or anything like that, or maybe even promoting and just trying to grow the audience, because that's something that I'd like to get into is, buying some ads and things like that to try to grow our audience that way.
Absolutely.
And of course that costs money, so we would love it if you could support us. If you have the means, please go to buymeacoffee.com/rhythm Rhythm and Wit.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.